Welcome to 5-Minute Math. This is Carrie Rhinehart. I am continuing factoring special products. I already did sum and difference of squares in the previous video, and now I'm going to look at perfect square trinomials. So this is another special factoring case, and it's called a perfect square trinomial. So as the name says, it's going to be a trinomial. There's going to be three terms. Okay. And it's the form, let me give you the form. It's written as a squared plus or minus 2ab plus b squared. Okay, so it's going to look something like this. An example would be, let's say, x squared plus, and I like to do this part first to kind of figure out what it is. Let's say that this is 9, because that's a perfect square. Not b squared. 9 is equal to b squared. So in this case, we need to have 2 times ab. So I need 2 times a. Well, in this case, that would be x. And then times b. In this case, b would be 3. So I need 2 times x times 3, which would be 6x. Okay. This will factor into a perfect square. So it's going to be a binomial squared. This factors into a plus or minus b. Now, the plus or minus, it just tells you if this was plus to begin with, this will be plus here. If it was minus to begin with, it'll be minus here. So to get our answer here, it's going to be a binomial squared. And remember, that really means a plus or minus b times a plus or minus b. It's just the same binomial multiplied by itself. So to get this value, first of all, we know it's going to be plus because that's plus. Okay. The square root of x squared is just x, and then the square root of 9 is just 3. So x plus 3 quantity squared is what this would factor into. That's also the same as x plus 3 times x plus 3. And so let's make sure that it does give us back that x squared plus 6x plus 9. So x times x is x squared. X times 3 is 3x. 3 times x is 3x. And 3 times 3 is 9. Combine the like terms, we end up with x squared plus 6x plus 9, which is exactly what we started with. So we know this is correct. Now, I think these are probably one of the hardest to recognize because you have to do this 2ab. Look out for that 2ab thing. So let me give you another example. All right, so let's say that we have 4m squared minus 20m plus 25. Okay, a lot of students wouldn't look at this and say, oh, that's a perfect square trinomial. So you could still factor this, call it bust the b, the asterisk method, however you factored in the past. But if you do recognize that it's a perfect square trinomial, it just takes a little less time. And the first thing that you should recognize is that this is a perfect square. 4m squared is a perfect square. And so is 25. If those aren't perfect squares, then you know for sure it's not going to be a perfect square trinomial. But if those are perfect squares, I like to take the square root of them. So the square root of 4m squared is 2m. And the square root of 25 is 5. And I multiply those together. 2m times 5 is 10m. If this value is twice that much, which it is, 2 times 10m is 20m, then I know it's a perfect square trinomial. And so that I can factor this into a perfect square binomial. And I'd have 2m here, that comes from this, and 5 here. And my sign is going to be a subtraction sign. And so if we check this, I'm going to do it right here. 2m minus 5 times 2m minus 5. I've got 2m times 2m, which is 4m squared. I've got 2m times negative 5, which is negative 10m. I've got negative 5 times 2m, which is negative 10m. And negative 5 times negative 5 is positive 25. I'm going to combine those like terms. I get 4m squared minus 20m plus 25, which is exactly what we started with, so we know that this is correct.